This adventure at the end of 2018 took a group of Jimnys to explore Lesotho, a country totally landlocked by South Africa, a scenic land of tall mountains and narrow valleys and aptly referred to as the Kingdom in the Sky, the only independent state in the world that lies entirely above 1,000 metre above sea level. Our adventure would see us departing from Port Elizabeth, where we headed up through the Eastern Cape, overnighting en route at the Tortoni guest farm. We entered Lesotho on the east side via the notorious Sani Pass and proceeded to cross the Lesotho lowlands region in the south, taking in as many passes and scenic opportunities as time would allow. We would then exit Lesotho in the south at the Teli border post and continue on some of the Eastern Cape high passes on our route home. Join us on this adventure as we experience some of the beauty of the Kingdom in the Sky. Day 1, we set off with our Jimnys fully laden to cover the 540-kilometre journey from Port Elizabeth to the Tortoni guest farm. This would ensure that we would be close enough to enter into Lesotho comfortably the next day. Tortoni farm is in a beautiful setting and the perfect end to a long day on the road. Day 2 dawned with much excitement and anticipation as we were tackling Sani Pass today. We packed up camp and headed for Underberg. We made a lunch stop in Underberg, which is only 20 kilometers from the base of the Sani Pass. As we headed towards the Sani border post, we realized we were in for an adventure, as the storm clouds had started to roll in. Sani Pass is an iconic South African gravel pass, 27 kilometers long and tops at an altitude of 2876 meters above sea level. The drivability of this pass depends on the weather conditions at the time. After the border control post, the rain started to fall quite heavily, which made the pass quite wet and the rivers were running. This all added to the adventure. As we reached the top section of the pass, where the 180-degree hairpin bends start, we were overtaken, quite unnervingly, by the local 4x4 minibus taxis, going about their daily route, seemingly unperturbed by the inclement weather and wet, slippery road conditions. At the top of the pass, we were taking one of our first spectacular views of this trip. We also took the opportunity to take a group photo at the highest pub in Africa. This is a must. Our accommodation for the night would be at the Sani Stone Lodge, a short distance down the road from the top of the Sani Pass. It was bitterly cold that evening, so we decided to make use of the backpacker accommodation available.
Day 3 arrived and we headed inland on Lesotho's newly tarred major road network. We would first climb the Kotisepola Pass into the Black Mountains. This 32-kilometer pass is the second highest road pass in Lesotho, consisting of 139 bends, of which 6 are hairpin bends. The pass stops out at 3,244 meters above sea level.
Here we left the tar infrastructure and started on our gravel journey south. We really felt like we were venturing off the grid now, as these gravel roads wound up and down the mountainsides all day. Villages and kraals are built high up on the mountainsides, and we got to take in the locals going about their daily life.
There are not a lot of shady tree spots next to the road, but this one arrived just in time for a lunch stop. After a full day's travel, we arrived at Mashal Lodge. This is a very basic lodge, but a convenient spot to pitch your tent for the night. The next day was Christmas Day, and we were not too sure about what to expect, as we would be tackling the infamous Matabeng Pass today on our way to the Sehlabathebe National Park. We wound our way further south till we reached the Bob Phillips Community Camp, which is found alongside the Matabeng River. This was an ideal tea stop. We followed the road along the river, and then it started to climb. We were now on the Matabeng Pass. Reading about this pass, we had been warned to only tackle as a convoy and avoid at all costs if wet. The pass is listed as a grade 4 pass and tops out at the radio tower at a height of 2,940 meters. Although the road was quite washed away in sections, the Jimnys handled it with ease, and all the drivers had big smiles when they reached the top.
So Gary, what do you think?
Yeah, that other section I think was worse. The one just before this.
You having fun?
Yes, I am. Just let us know when we get to the rough parts.
So can you imagine how many other men in the world wish they were 4x4ing on Christmas Day?
There must be thousands.
Once reaching the top of the pass, the scenery in both directions is simply spectacular. We then headed down the pass, winding our way to the Sehlabathebe Park.
Within the Sehlabathebe National Park, there is a newer lodge section, which is basically self-catering rooms. Electricity and gas is not always available, so you need to be prepared. The rooms have a lovely view over the escarpment. Day 5 was spent exploring the remote and spectacular scenery in the park, often referred to as the Giant's Playground due to the amazing natural rock formation sculpted by erosion. The park is the oldest nature reserve in Lesotho and is known for its remoteness. It lies on the Drakensberg border to South Africa, and the views really are awesome to behold. This truly is a hiker's paradise. rest day, the next leg of the journey would be to follow the escarpment along the border down to Qachas Neck. The scenery was much the same as the days before. We did however encounter quite a steep descent to the Tsulika Bridge to cross the Tsulika River. The Qachas Neck area is far more populated and bustling. The only petrol station had however run out of fuel, so this necessitated a quick fuel run back to South Africa via the Qachas Neck Pass to Maluti to fill our tanks and jerry cans, ready for the next day's adventure.
Day 7 would see us heading back inland. We followed the tar A4 and A5 roads. Mid-morning we took a detour in search of the Horseshoe Bend lookout. This can be found near the Christ the King mission station. At this vantage point you can see the Senqu River taking a spectacular 180-degree bend. By lunchtime we had reached the Semonkong Lodge and took the opportunity to grab a bite to eat. After lunch we headed out to find the Maletsuyane waterfall. This is one of the highest single drop waterfalls in southern Africa at 192 meters. Although Lesotho was at the time experiencing a drought, there was a steady stream falling.
We then spent 2 nights at the Ramabanta trading post, which is deep in the mountains. This is an ideal spot to rest, relax and take in the valley views. Day 9 saw us head out in search of further fuel supplies. Many fuel stations were under repair, so we ended up going as far as Roma before we could refuel. From here we decided to take an unplanned shortcut to get us back on our route to Malealea. This shortcut ended up being an incredible experience. Most of the day the storm clouds had been threatening, and shortly after arriving at Malealea, the heavens opened. Malealea Lodge is found in the relaxed and peaceful village of Malealea, surrounded by the Maluti Mountains. What started off as a trading post is now an eco-friendly and community-oriented lodge with many activities for guests to experience. They are perhaps better known for their pony trekking excursions.
On day 11 we left Malealea via the gates of Paradise Pass and headed south to the Telebridge border post. Along the way we took a detour and met up with the Senqu River. There we had the opportunity to drive over the Siaka Steel Bridge. The Senqu River becomes the Orange River when it enters South Africa.
The last site we would explore would be the Masitise cave house. This home was built into the cave in 1866 by a missionary. The 3-bedroom home is now a museum. After exiting at the Telly Bridge border post, we then followed the Telly River on the South African side till we could head south again. Whilst in the area, we would take the opportunity to drive some of the Eastern Cape high passes too. The first of these passes would be the 14.5 kilometre Lundine's Neck on the way to our campsite for the night at Balloch. Shortly after arriving at Balloch and setting up camp, we would have to hastily retreat to our tents as a massive thunderstorm unleashed itself.
Day 12 and our last day of driving gravel passes. We had some great ones lined up. Firstly was Volunteershoek Pass. This pass connects the Wartrail farming community with the Tiffindell Ski Resort. The start gradient is about 1 in 5, but it averages out at about 1 in 14. At the summit of the pass, we stopped to take in the views and assess the heavy rain clouds hanging about. We visited Tiffindell Ski Resort for lunch and then drove the TT Traverse, which is a 27-kilometer contour road, following the SA-Lesotho border connecting Tiffindell and Tenahead.
And this is after the big rain and hailstorm. The gate opener is officially sopping wet, and the sun has come.
We were only too pleased to reach the Tenahead Lodge to seek some shelter and a warm cup of coffee in such a beautiful setting. When we were suitably thawed out, remembering that this was actually the middle of summer, we headed down the Nordeers Neck Pass into the town of Rhodes to sleep over for the night.
Our trip was almost over, with one last stop off in Hogsback on the way home. This trip was truly an adventure, a challenging drive through a small part of this kingdom in the sky. We experienced unbelievable views around every corner and such friendly and proud people. We hope you enjoyed watching this adventure as much as we did driving it.